I want to talk about something that I don't see a lot of on YouTube in particular. You can find more on TikTok, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of information on it, which I feel like is intentional. I want to talk about letting go of all beliefs. I feel like this is something I've been on a journey for that I didn't even know that I was on over the past years. years. But one thing I'm noticing for myself is as I'm dropping old beliefs, old religious beliefs, old um, those type of beliefs that they kind of drill into you that this is the way it is type of beliefs, or you should behave this way, you should think that way, and um, these universal laws type things. I'm finding a lot of them to either be total lies or misconstrued truths. Like there's some truth to it, but a truth that's kind of meant to manipulate you to some belief system or religion. And I'm finding that as I'm dropping more of that off of my brain, space is opening up for um, more freedom. Um, Trying to think of what I want to say in terms of freedom. I consider freedom something I think different than a lot of people. I think freedom and love and just really being able to do what you want to do is being totally free. Like I have the absolute I want to say physical ability, but I have the absolute freedom to think how I want to think, do what it is that I want to do, and live in a way that's in aligned with me and not with what people think that I should do. I feel like there's more I want to say about that in the future, but I'm a little tired. I just feel like talking about this for a second. But I'm noticing even things when it comes to karma and an eye for an eye or threefold type things. I find that all of that is a lie. The reason why I say that is because all you have to do is look around. I find that we humans tend to believe things because it's convenient and not necessarily because it's true. Um, I feel like we live in a universe where whatever your mind says is real, it is real, it becomes real. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's true. And it doesn't necessarily mean it has to stay that way. When it comes to karma and things like that, there's a little bit of something of a truth there. The universe has its own rules about balance. It doesn't care about like morality and things like that. It doesn't give a fuck about that shit. We know this because just look around. Like people claim to be moral yet do immoral things every day in the name of whatever it is that they believe. The universe clearly doesn't give a fuck about morals. It doesn't give a fuck about right or wrong or any of those things because of how we live. And it's amazing to me how people actively refuse to see that. Or God is going to get you, or you don't fear this and that and the third. And it's like, what does it matter? The fact that it's allowed to happen, that it is happening, mean there's a freedom of choice there where people get to live by the rules that they choose. And I believe that's the only thing that's actually true. You actually get to live by the rules that you, in your spirit, in your mind, in your spirit, in your consciousness, and in your higher self feel is true. Now, the universe has its own way of balancing things. You'll find that maybe someone who has been a thief their whole life, all of a sudden, they might get caught years and years later versus a person who steals one time and they get the book thrown at them. I feel the only difference between those two people is the person who gets the book thrown at them has a deep moral sense within themselves that they accepted that this is wrong. I probably shouldn't be doing this. Or I have a higher calling that this is leading me away from. And you'll feel the repercussions faster because of that. Versus a person who may steal for years. They don't feel like in their spirit that nothing is wrong with that. They feel like they're getting what it is that they want and that they can have whatever they want. Now, the universe may continue to allow that to happen. But I think there's a connection between consciousness and universe that something in the spirit is not agreeing to anymore. And that causes trip ups, that causes them to maybe get caught, or that causes problems for them that they have to constantly correct because they're somehow going off of their own internal path, and the universe comes to answer that. The universe also, like I said, has its own way of balancing things. So like if something is taking too much and throwing something out of balance so much that the universe feels like, wait, this isn't the balance that I want, it'll cause repercussions for that. But karma and repercussions are not what people think they are. And I think our inability to use our eyes and our brains instead of belief systems is one of the biggest things that hold humanity back. And I think a lot of people will be bound to that until one day they decide that, wait a minute, this thing that I believe is not lining up with reality. I know it's already happening. It's already happening with a lot of people like me who see things for what they are. I'm a person who sees things exactly for what they are, and I can't ignore it, whereas most people can't ignore it. And I feel like a lot of people are waking up to, like, wait a minute, something is not right here. Something is not meshing up with what it's supposed to be. And I feel there's a shift happening when it comes to that. But when it comes to how I'm feeling about belief systems, I got to burp. It ain't coming out yet. I feel like they have really been lessons, and they have really been the major thing holding me back from my own highest potential, whatever that is. I feel like they were necessary to, at the very least, teach me all the things that I don't want. Teach me about all the ways that I don't have to be, that I don't have to believe. And when I find myself, my brain trying to reach back to those belief systems, there's an almost instant whiplash, like I'm not going to do that anymore. But the thing is that I'm not really sure where I'm going either. I'm not really sure what the next step is. But I do know that in this space, there's something opening up for a different level of possibility that I have never experienced, that I don't really know anything about yet, that maybe even the world doesn't know anything about yet. But I find myself just not wanting to participate in the shit that everybody does, in the belief systems that everybody lives by, whether that's spiritual belief systems or even, physical world stuff, jobs and businesses and all of these things. Like, it kind of disgusts me how often we lie to each other and ourselves. And we think it's okay to live in a society where, lying is considered bad, but we do it to each other every day. We allow companies to do it to us every day. That's disturbing, you know? And it's like, I can't ignore that, and I just don't want to be a part of that either. But I feel like allowing myself to at least mentally be free of the delusion that these belief systems have brought me, and allowing me to see and experience my own power, that as a human being, I actually do have my own power, that I don't need to rely on any sky gods or any vague belief system to fulfill my own inner needs. I feel like we oftentimes use God or religion as a scapegoat, or spirituality as a scapegoat, to ignore the problems within us, to overshadow the things that we don't want to think about. When negative thoughts come in, they tell you think about something positive instead, or change, what it is you're seeing. And there's validity to that as well. But the more you do that, the more the same thing will come back over and over again until you find a way to face that thing. That's what I'm learning. And I just don't want to weave around these things anymore. I would rather be in alignment and okay with myself rather than pretend like these things don't exist and just try to find something else to do. I've done enough of that, and I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to pretend believe in anything anymore, or even when I did really believe in stuff, I feel like I was really pulling on this internal hope system. Like, I hope things will, this is hoping for things to get better and things to be better and me to be greater in the future. This hope complex, I kind of call it them. It's like a constant desire for something else other than right here and right now. And I just can't fake the funk with that shit anymore. Like, I don't want to live off of hope for something better anymore, because it really is driving my life down and it's driving me crazy. I would rather more so live with the connection between me and me, because that's something tangible. I can't reach the future. I can't touch the past. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't, know what the universe is going to bring me. I don't know what I'm going to bring me. But I do know that I, as Crystal, have an opportunity to touch parts of myself. That too. But when I heard it coming down in my brain, I'm like, yeah. I have the opportunity to touch parts of myself that have not been seen, heard, or experienced in many years. Parts of myself that have been hidden away, pushed away out of shame, out of guilt, out of sadness. And like I was saying in my previous video, I spent a lot of time ignoring parts of myself that have been starving for my attention, making it the enemy of me, things that I don't want to experience because it's too painful, things that I've hated. And I realized a lot of the belief systems that I have held from religion and just societal belief systems have been the source of the reason why I hate these things. Because to experience yourself in the full magnitude of either anger or sadness or darkness is frowned upon in our society. Darkness in itself is frowned upon and seen as something negative, when it's something so completely necessary for our advancement and moving forward in life. And I want to say transmuting, but allowing ourselves to be the greater versions of ourselves that we've always wanted to be and never have been able to attain. I'll never understand the vilification of darkness. It's like I do, but I can understand it from the standpoint of those who want to control others, those who don't want them to see all that's inside. Because if people knew the power that they had just as human beings, they would be a lot harder to control. People like me who cannot ignore the problems, cannot ignore the reality of what this world is naturally harder to control. That's why they suppress things like this. And that's okay, because the energy is already out there. Me speaking this right now means that there are millions of people who feel this exact same way on some level. So it doesn't matter whether a million people see it or no one sees it. The energy can't be stopped. So I feel like I am at a point where belief systems have become obsolete and are slowly being phased out of my mind and my spirit, because they don't hold any real truth for me. like I said, a lot of things I realize are just straight up lies. Like, and they have some grain of truth to them, but they're totally misunderstood. Like, and I feel like the only way we'll ever be able to access that level of information is through understanding the things that we don't want to see, being willing to walk through the darkness and see ourselves as we really are. And the more that I've walked through my own darkness to see myself as I really am, I'm realizing the things that I was taught to hate or dislike or have disdain for or be ashamed of are things that hold my greatest power. Um, and this is going to be definitely controversial. I know that on a lower level, I'm definitely a narcissist. That is something in my family. But I feel like people who are narcissists are people who have a great power of um, persuasion. They have a magnetism about them, something that really naturally draws people around them, a inner confidence that they were born with. But when a person doesn't believe in themselves, when they feel less than, when they feel threatened by others, when they feel threatened by other people's greatness, they use that energy and that power to make other people feel like shit. When in the opposite, if you have that same person who has confidence, who has love for themselves, who sees themselves exactly who they are and can fully accept that, they can be an amazing asset to the world. Being able to rally people by the masses to see a perspective different than they may have saw before, or rally them around a cause that would motivate people and get people to give a damn about whatever they're talking about. And I feel like that's literally all narcissists are. They're just really gifted at um, magnetism. They just don't always use it in the best way or to a benefit for them that would amplify their life rather than cause problems. But, anyways, I feel like if you resonate with this, you should really open yourself up to deciding to choose what it is that you want to believe. For me, it's felt good just slowly, like down dosing myself off of that's not even a word, but you get what I'm saying. Slowly phasing out all the old stuff and I guess with down dosing the crack of preset beliefs because it is a crack, honestly. Um, it's a drug because you don't have to think, and most people are too tired and too exhausted to think. They don't want to think, or it's too painful to think. I have to think. So for someone like me, thinking is an asset to my life because it allows me to have a level of freedom that most people don't. So that's what I have to say about that. And I hope that was helpful and maybe helped you reflect on something. All right. Peace.